Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Today I'd like to talk about a program called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. Mindfulness-based stress reduction is a type of meditation that we practice here. Adopted in medical medical science and in psychology and also in neurology. But this one, mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR. This is the name of the program, MBSR. You can Google this. Mindfulness-based stress reduction is developed in scientifically model, in Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, by Professor John Kabat-Zinn, Professor of Medicine, who has been studying and practicing meditation for about 50 years. First to help his patient and then to help people to reduce stress. So I want you to have a look at this. I have 2 or 3 slides to show it. Okay.
So in my world, stress is really just a modern-day term for suffering. I've never heard anyone say, gosh, I am so stressed out, and I feel really terrific. No, it doesn't happen that way. There's always a certain degree of suffering associated with the experience of stress. And it's happening on 2 basic levels. In our bodies, we get stomach aches, we get headaches, our neck and shoulders and back get tight and can cause us pain. We get the sense of constriction in the chest and in the breath. Well, this isn't just happening in the body, it's happening in the mind as well. Our minds start to get tight and constricted, and that tight, small feeling, as the mind continues to focus on all the things that are going wrong in our life. And then our world vision starts to get very small and tight as well. And it's like, I know you got problems over there, sister, but I really can't help you because I got problems of my own right here. In my opinion, this is really the number 1 problem with stress. See, how we get to experience our humanity is through our ability to connect with others, with our friends, with our families, with our coworkers, with our pets, with the world of nature. Our sense of humanity is directly dependent upon our ability to connect with others. As stress constricts our minds, so it constricts and eventually restricts our ability to be present with others in our lives. And this has a snowball effect not only on our stress, but on our life as well. So mindfulness-based stress reduction is the practice of learning how to more effectively use our minds through evidence-based and non-religious meditation to be able to turn off the stress response in the body, thereby decreasing things like high blood pressure, decreasing muscle tension, which can in turn decrease our experience of daily fatigue as well as our experiences of pain. And it can increase our ability to move ourselves more effectively into states of greater rest and relaxation, which can absolutely be a benefit when it's time to go to sleep at night. And in the mind, it can enable ourselves to focus more clearly on our daily tasks, practicing something that we call mental stabilization, which is really the skill that enables us to really weather the daily storms of our professional and personal lives with a certain degree of resiliency, a certain degree of non-reactivity. So in really simple terms, mindfulness-based stress reduction is the practice of cultivating a state that we call relaxed alertness. It's a sense of physical and mental relaxation paired with a sense of alertness, mental focus, awareness, relaxed alertness. And through practice of this cultivation of this skill, it really starts to be enabled as a way of living our lives. So I've taught thousands of programs and literally tens of thousands of people the skill of mindfulness meditation. And I've really taught across the spectrum of community and society. And one of the things that I am perpetually amazed and inspired by is just how much very real benefit people experience through not only going through the program, but then putting the practice of meditation into play in their daily lives. It really is the practice we've been waiting for. Simple and clear instruction on meditation paired with easy to integrate daily practices. That's mindfulness-based stress reduction. So in these modern busy times, stress has really become the norm for us, but it doesn't have to be. One way of looking at it is you can understand it that we've been practicing stress, and so we've just gotten really good at it. But just as we've practiced and gotten good at stress, so we can practice and get good at something different, cultivating these states of relaxed alertness. The research is there, and the program is here. So what are we waiting for?
Okay, can I have the me bien point baby? So I believe you listen to the program carefully, and can you just help me? What are the keywords that you got to? Yes. Relax, alertness. Relax, alertness. Microphone, please, volunteer. And microphone, please. You can come in the middle. More.
Mental stabilization.
Mental stabilization. Mental stabilization. Yes. And we have more.
Stress reduction.
Stress reduction. Maybe I put capital. Stress reduction. What's before that?
Non-religious meditation.
Non-religious meditation. Meditation.
Mindfulness-based stress reduction.
Mindfulness-based stress reduction. So this is where the name of the program comes from. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBST. Can somebody get the book called Full Catastrophe Living? A thick book, very thick book. And more from the floor.
Resiliency.
Resiliency. Something has to do something that has to do with reaction, something that comes to your mind. Does it stay with you? There is one description, very important one. It has something to do with reaction.
Non-reactive.
Pardon?
Non-reactive.
Non-reaction, non-reactivity. Non-reactivity. So this is the basic thing that we get from this program. Maybe more, we are going to watch another program again about this one by somebody exactly from MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. This one, the program that we have just watched, is by someone who is practicing MBSR outside. Okay. For people who have heard of this word in Burmese, because obviously one time or another you will come across it. Mindfulness is called the deep. The deep. Base is called pattern. The deep pattern. So deep pattern. Stress, there's no Burmese word, stress reduction. We don't look at this program this way. We look at this program as overcoming suffering. But here, the speaker is talking about stress in terms of suffering. That's how she started. This book, it looks very thick, but is in that thick, shall I say, because of the title of the paper, it's only 650. We have the same size of books, like in my library, but which runs to maybe about 1,900 pages. This book, for catastrophe living, how to cope with stress, pain, illness using mindfulness meditation. This is John Kabat-Zinn from MIT. Catastrophe is a very strong word. It's more than stress. It's more than problem. It's more than care. Okay, in terms of degrees of severity. But here, we can live full life despite the catastrophe that we have in our life. We don't often put it this way, but he is trying to interest you. He's trying to provoke your thought. Despite stress, it's still possible to live and enjoy what we do. To enjoy our study. Yes, there will be stress. A student who are going to higher grades, obviously you will have more stress. And you just have to expect this. But as she said earlier, something to do with habit. Do you remember any wording? She talks about stress. When it comes to stress, that we have an option. We can just leave it as it is and retain, our habitual reaction. That pattern that we have, fighting with stress or running away from stress, that's a fight or flight. We can do that and become very good at stress production, not reduction. Not reduction. At stress production, we can become very good. But we also have another option, which is to learn how to be mindful. And then learn the pattern of our reaction. How do we react? Okay. This requires observation. She doesn't use it, but I want to put it here. Observation. We need to observe. We need to observe our emotional reaction. We need to observe, say, breathing. We don't usually pay attention to our breathing. We just take it for granted. But without breathing, do we live? We don't. Okay. This body requires oxygen constantly. And when we breathe, we are just supplying oxygen. But the oxygen supply, is it sufficient? Okay. We never ask ourselves. We don't care so much about our physical welfare, well-being. So mindfulness-based stress reduction, or mindfulness meditation, is a form of welfare program, welfare and well-being program. You can see here it says relax but alert. Usually when we are alert, we are very tense. Remember the exam that you have just had? You were very alert about everything, but at the same time very stressed out. This is a different quality to relax, but also remain alert. How do we do that? Of course, we'll come to that later. Mental stabilization. When we are under stress, we don't actually focus on what we are doing properly. If we do, we usually use up our energy more than we should. You know, our brain weighs only, the weight of our brain is only 2% of the weight of our body. But it uses 20 to 25% of our energy, the physical energy. So, if your brain, tenses up, is using a lot of energy, as if you are in emergency mode. So it's important that we learn how to stabilize our mind. Then we have an effect of calming emotion. That calm emotion will have the effect on calm attitude as well. Non-religious meditation, here non-religious means you don't need to believe. Anyway, there's a whole lot of belief system that comes with meditation. But here, as far as mindfulness meditation is concerned, everybody can practice this. I'd like to show you another program so that you get to know more of the MBSR. Can you remove this one for a while? And we're going to watch another program called Mindfulness Meditation. I don't know if we got the right one. Can you show a little bit, a few seconds? There's another one. This one hasn't got music.
Mindfulness. It's really become quite the buzzword in recent times, even though mindfulness practices have been used for millennia. Most of us are in agreement that mindfulness practices are a positive thing and would benefit our life. There's an abundant amount of research illustrating the positive effect that mindfulness practices have on quality of life, improved focus, and decreased stress. From Fortune 500 companies to elementary schools, mindfulness practices are being used every day in practical application and controlled studies with wonderful outcomes. Unfortunately, most of us tend to pump the brakes when we think about sequestering even a small amount of time or a quiet space to practice mindfulness. You might think to yourself, a quiet space? 10 minutes? What? Forget it. I don't have time. We allow, out of survival in the moment, we allow screaming children, occupational pressures, general life stress, and technological distractions to consume our precious minutes. The result of brushing mindfulness practices aside is more stress and a decreased quality of life. What if I told you that the benefits of mindfulness could be obtained in as little as 30 seconds in almost any setting? You might think that I'm selling snake oil, or at a minimum, it's too good to be true. The reality is, it is true, and is being done regularly by people that I've trained in the method that I'm about to share with you, ranging from elite athletes to doctors to parents. I first developed the technique I call the 3x3 method when my daughter was about 1 year old. For those of you with children, you know that parenting brings about great joy, but also an incredible amount of stress. I found myself experiencing increased muscle tension, headaches, and anxiety as I rushed from home to work, to home, to the playground, to home, to bed, to work, to home, to the playground, and on the carousel went. I became extremely uncomfortable, and so I set out to do something about it. Now, as a psychotherapist working in the high-pressured environment of the Silicon Valley, I am inherently passionate about mindfulness techniques. Thought I had it in the bag. I set out to give it a try. Unfortunately, I fell right into the hurry, 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 I don't have time trap. What'd that get me? More stress, more headaches, more anxiety, the whole thing. I kept plugging along and still had very little positive result. So I thought, well, maybe I'll try and get some feedback. I started wearing a heart rate monitor to gauge my physical response to different techniques that I was trying. Kept plugging along and still was not having the type of result that I had hoped for until I paired one of the most basic breathing techniques alongside one of the most basic mindfulness techniques. That's when it clicked. That was the game changer. My heart rate began to drop consistently. My psychological responses to stressors in the environment were significantly altered. Thus, the 3x3 method was born. The 3x3 method is extremely simple. All you're going to do is identify one physical object in the environment, name it, and take one deep breath and repeat it 3 times. Now keep in mind, most everyone that I've trained in this model looked at me like I was spouting nonsense until they tried it. So you're not alone if you're feeling that same way right now. And don't worry, we're going to do it together in just a minute, okay? You want to do it together? Yes. All right. So I want you to find 3 physical objects in your environment. It can be anything. It can be your desk, someone sitting next to you, your computer screen, a lamp, literally anything. It's important not to fall into a particular trap that I've seen many people fall in, and that is to add subjective descriptors to the object, like, that's my favorite stool, or I really like Johnny. When we add these subjective descriptors, adjectives, etc., it brings about subtle emotional reactions that muddle the process. So you're simply going to say, that's a stool, nothing else. And when you name the object, you're going to do so in your mind, not out loud. If you're doing this at work or on the bus or on the train, people might start to think, you're having a little trouble that day, okay? And when you take your breath, you're going to do so through your nose or your mouth, whatever's comfortable for you. Ultimately, it is best if you choose the objects yourself, but for the sake of this talk and for us to do it together and things to be expeditious, I've picked out 3 objects for us. This pointer, that stool, and this screen. Ready to give it a try together? All right, here we go. That's a pointer. Take a deep breath. That's a stool. Deep breath. That's a screen. Another deep breath. So, how do you feel? A little less stressed? A little more relaxed? It's good, right? And it's insanely simple. I even use it at night if I wake up worried about the children or work or whatever it is and I can't get back to sleep. And you better believe that I was using it behind that curtain before coming out here today. Okay? And backstage, I even did what I call a 9x9, which is doing the whole process 3 times in a row. And you can do that too if you're ever really in a tight spot or coming out to give a TEDx talk. So when are you going to use the 3x3 method in your life? We all experience repeated stressors in our daily lives that tax our ability to stay present in the current moment, focus, and manage our stress. I want you to take a moment to think about one of these repeated stressors that you experience. It shouldn't be too hard. Everyone have something? Okay. So let's make a promise to each other. The next time that we experience one of these stressors, we'll use the 3x3 method to try and manage it. Deal? Great. So, what is the future of the 3x3 method? The people who are using the 3x3 method continue to inspire me in the myriad of situations and occupations and life settings in which they're using it. I have an elite runner using it during long races to keep stamina. A spine surgeon using it during complex procedures to stay calm. Even a CEO using it right before making big decisions. Really, anyone can use it in almost any setting. From parents to business people to doctors to athletes, it doesn't matter. Finally, the 3x3 method can be used to help us avoid the ever-growing addictive nature of the impulse to check our digital devices. The next time that you're in line at the store and you have that urge to take your phone out and check social media, send a text, read an email, don't. Use the 3x3 method instead to bring yourself back to the current moment. Every moment has meaning. Time is precious. Don't miss out. Thank you for sharing this moment with me.
There's another program from MIT still downloading. But this is from one of the TED Talks on mindfulness. As you can see, people develop a program to make it easy so that the users can make use of it easily anywhere, as he said, even in the shopping mall. We do a short practice. After the practice, we watch another program just to trying to give you this MBSR foundation, a good foundation, and after that we can have some discussion. What the TED Talk speaker was saying, the way he describes mindfulness practice, the development of mindfulness is using what I would call active mindfulness. In my own practice, I distinguish mindfulness from active mindfulness to passive mindfulness. So here, he's talking about choosing an object, then take a slow breath and name this object 3 times. This is to bring your mind back to the present moment. It wouldn't take you half a minute. It will take less than that. And maybe you don't have to close your eyes either. So we try this out first, okay? We try this. This is to slow down breathing. By slowing down the breath, you're also slowing down your attention. But when you slow the mind down, it becomes sharper. You don't miss out anything. But when the mind is spinning because of stress, we miss out many things. And we have to repeat certain things many times. So, are you ready? I'm going to describe how we can do this. First, in terms of posture, you can lean on your chair. Just make yourself relax, okay? Make yourself relax. But if possible, keep your feet together. This is a sign of being composed. Keep your feet together. Your hands, you can keep them in 2 ways. One is to put them together, okay? Your palms on top of each other and put them on your lap. This is one thing. Another thing is just drop your palms by the side. This is a sign of letting go. And I'm not going to tell you what to name in front of you, okay? You have people, you have objects, you have a cameraman. So you can do that, okay? So we are going to start now. Breathing, you can choose one object, then breathe in, slow and gentle 3 times. Name that object 3 times as well. Label that object. Each breath is one label for one labeling. You label 3 times and you breathe 3 times. Then move on to another object and then to another object. We don't need to close our eyes as yet. Remember not to judge. Good or bad, exciting, my favorite, and so on. Not to judge. Just to label something as it is. This is called non-judgmental mindfulness. Remember to breathe slow and gentle. Okay, thank you. I think we spent about 1 minute. Oh, just over 1 minute. Just over 1 minute, you can see that you come to have more control of yourself. Now, I'm going to describe you how we can practice this. Can I have the whiteboard once again? I want to describe you the technique called 3R. The technique of 3R, the first R is register. This register is about recognizing or accepting. That's the first R. The second R is to release. The third R is to return. Imagine a spider forming its web. Where would the spider stay? In the middle. Very alert, but quiet. Quiet and alert. And if small insect fall on the web, what the spider would do? The spider would go and eat it. And after that, observe the behavior of the spider. It would come back to the middle, to the center. By staying at the center, the spider is not creating any vibration. So whenever any small insect falls on the web, there will be vibration, and the spider will get to know it straight away. The small insect, they are like distraction that we have in our daily life. Sometimes the distraction is from what we see, sometimes from what we hear, sometimes from our past experiences, sometimes from our friends, like this. So our mind is constantly having to react to all those senses. So it hasn't got any time to rest. That is why the mind gets exhausted, because it's reacting constantly. So what we do, the first thing, register. This is something like in the TED Talk, to name it, to label it. In Burmese, we would call it mat, Tayar. So, register. By registering, you are recognizing the present experience. If you are seeing something, you recognize that. If you're eating, you recognize the taste. If it happened to be an emotional reaction, you actually accept that emotion. Yes, this emotion has a reason. And without judging, good or bad. So this is called non-judgmental. Non-judgmental mindfulness. Not to judge good or bad, because that judgments come from subconscious mind. Once we have registered, look at the TED Talk earlier. How many times? 3 times. After 3 times, you move your attention to something else. That's called release. Usually our mind doesn't know how to release, especially the subconscious mind. We need to train it. If something bad happened to someone, that person, may cling on to that bad experience and not able to let it go. We call this a trauma. It can happen in the playground, it can happen in the school, it can happen at home, it can happen in the society, at a birthday party, and when you get older, it can happen in the workplace. So we need to know how to let go. We need to learn how to let go. Then we need somewhere to return our attention to. So here we're going to choose breathing. So breathing is the center, okay, the center of our mind, our attention. 3R, register, release, and return. 3R. With this, we are going to practice by focusing on breathing to develop mindfulness. And just as many small insects will be falling on the web, the spider's web, you will have some wandering mind. That's okay. Don't feel guilty for having wandering mind. What is important is to name it 3 times. This is wandering mind. This is wandering mind. This is automatic mind, or whatever. You can say wandering mind or automatic mind. But don't judge it. Don't say it's bad. And don't suppress it either. If you're going to suppress your emotion, you will use more of your energy than managing it. And if any emotion comes up, maybe boredom, you need to look at that boredom. How boredom is like. Look at the quality of boredom. Okay, this is boredom. This is boredom. Slow and gentle breathing. This is boredom. If you feel sleepy, if you feel hungry, if you feel irritated, if you feel nervous, just name it all. But each one 3 times. After you have named each object, what do you do? You come back to breathing. You return to breathing. So I'm going to call breathing as the primary object and the rest as secondary objects. Wandering mind is a secondary object. If you have aches and pains in your body, let's call that a secondary object. So you stay with it only for 3 naming, for 3 labeling. How long you want to practice, I should ask you. Yesterday, the student younger than you, they did 6 minutes. I'm not trying to put pressure on you. You already have a lot of stress. But for some reason, I expect you to do a little bit longer. So how long you want to? What about you this time? How long you think we should be practicing?
They did 6 minutes.
How many minutes? 30. What about you this time? 30. What about you? How many minutes we should be practicing? 20. 30, 20. What about you? 30. 30. What about you? 6 and a half.
6 and a half. Wow. High achiever.
And what about you?
Are you from YIS?
30. And you?
YIS student.
6. 60. 60. Okay. So that's an hour. And what about you guys? 15, 1, 5. And you? So 15. 10, 7, 15, 10, 15. What about you? 10, 5. That's less than yesterday.
Less than a little school.
Yeah. And 15. Okay. And you? You said earlier 15. Okay. You said it. 20. And you 15. Okay. It seems, if I remember correctly, 15 seems to be the majority opinion. Okay. So shall we do 15? Can you time it? Okay. Can you time it? 15 minutes. Okay. 1-5. If you feel bored, this is perhaps the first time that you will be experiencing boredom mindfully. Okay. And tell me the quality of that boredom later. So now, this time we are going to be closing our eyes, just lightly, and then trying to. You can lean on the chair and start breathing in and out. As you breathe in, you can count your breathing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 to 5. As you breathe out, again count 1 to 5. You can, please. 1 to 5. Just close your eyes lightly and pay attention to your breath. Slow and gentle breathing. Be kind to your lung, supplying it with enough oxygen. Be kind to the whole body. Supply your whole body with sufficient oxygen. Count in breath 1 to 5. Again, out breath 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you feel some tension in your body, it's okay, don't resist it. Just name it. Just register it. This is tension. Breathe in. This is tension. Breathe in and out. This is tension. Then return to breathing. Count your breathing again. Breathing in 1 to 5. Placing your attention on your nostril. images, wandering mind. Don't even try to get rid of it. Just name it 3 times and return to the breath. We don't need to get rid of it. We don't need to resist it. And we don't need to suppress it. Images that come to your mind, just label them as images. Images, mental images. Then return to the breath. You may watch out the emotion that come to your mind. Boredom is an emotion. It has the power to overwhelm us if we are not mindful of it. So just treat it as a meditation object. This is boredom. This is boredom. Inhale and exhale slowly. This is boredom. Then return to the breath. Any sensation in the body, like tension, itchiness, discomfort, just name each and every one of them, one at a time, each one for 3 times, and then return to slow and gentle breathing. It's okay to feel wandering mind. It's okay to have a wandering mind. It's okay to have mental images popping up in your mind. It's okay for your mind from time to time to slip away. Breathing in and out, slow and gentle. Count 1 to 5. is tension in the body because of sitting in the same posture. If you want to move, just observe that first. Observe the discomfort 3 times, then the intention to move, so that we get to know how our intention dictates our action. So name that intention 3 times as well, and then you can move slowly, of course, mindfully, and then return to the breath. If your mind wanders a few times, just observe it and go back to breathing. Okay, it's 15 minutes now. Congratulations, everyone. Albert, do we have time for question? I intended to show you 3 clips, but I think 2 is fine. And do we have time for Q&A? Okay. And how much time we have? Okay. Any question? Can you bring microphone, please? Any question about what we have done so far?
If you guys have a question, you can just raise your hand and we'll pass the mics.
Over there.
I'm not really sure if I heard this correctly because I was half falling asleep, but I believe you said intentions dictate actions. Did you say that earlier? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. Intention dictates our action.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Use this mic after.
Yes, thank you.
When people swear, just take one example, maybe in the playground or anywhere, we think that's automatic, that's the habit. But if we slow down, like in mindfulness meditation, we're going to see that there is intention before people swear. It comes so quick that they cannot catch it. So if we can see that intention, we will be able to design our action. Does it make sense? The same with kindness. There's intention, kind intention, before people become generous towards each other. So we say this intention is, in Buddhist philosophy, is at the heart of all action. All we need to do is to mind our intention. But usually, the speed of life is so quick that we can examine our own intention. So mindfulness meditation's purpose, one of the purposes is this. Do you make?
How would it explain action that can be considered generous when your intentions don't line up? Because sometimes you see that people...
Can you speak to the microphone?
I understand what you mean by intention dictates action, and it makes sense, but how would that explain how sometimes people do things that you see can be considered as generous, but their intentions don't line up with what their actions are?
Yes, this is... I can see the... This is how Buddhism takes intention very seriously as the heart of ethics. Okay, if I understand you correctly, for example, if a surgeon in an operation room operates on a patient with the intention to save life, he or she is doing their best. It turns out that the operation is not successful. The patient dies. Okay. If you look at the end result, it doesn't seem that the intention was generous because the patient died. But here, Buddhist ethics would say the doctor is wholesome, he is kind. By looking at it, by examining his intention. You can.
Yeah, I understand. Something that I notice here in Burmese Buddhist culture is sometimes people do things, for example, give offerings to monks, but their intentions may not line up with actually wanting to offer to monks, but rather...
Yes, exactly. This is where we have to judge, we have to examine the intention. You share something with your friend, but your intention is not to reduce their pain, but just to impress them. Okay, to impress them. So the intention is unwholesome, or the intention is not the best intention. So because of that, shall we say, the intention is, there's an agenda in that intention. or shall we say the intention is not totally wholesome. So the generous act is issue, is for another purpose.
How do you change someone's mindset so their intentions line up with their actions, especially when it's considering generous acts?
The heart of the Buddhist practice is to try to understand and know more and more problems. The problem that we have in the society, the problem that each and everyone has in their life that they have to go through. By using problem as the basis of our thought, problem-based approach, by using this, if we can generate compassion, that is to reduce problem, then every intention will be wholesome. If people think they have to show off, they have to act out like that, they are not aware that they are suffering. They are suffering from insecurity. They feel the need to be approved by the wider society, and they seek attention. And they are not aware that they are suffering. By the time they are aware that they are actually suffering, they will stop doing that.
So I would like to ask a more religious question, along the lines of intention and action as well. When doing a good deed, is the value of the good deed measured on the intention of the person or his action? Like, for example, if you, as you said, if you give your friend, if you share some snacks with your friend, but you do it with a different agenda, is it still considered a good deed based on the action, or is it not based on the intention?
The Buddhist teaching would say is based on the intention. The action can be sometimes it can be just a show. It's the intention that we have to take care of. If the intention is taken care of, if the intention is pure and kind, then the action that follows will be wholesome. The word wholesome is Buddhist, that I translate from the Buddhist text. But if I feel insecure that I need to show off, and I share with you, or maybe I want to win some favor from you in the future. So this is with an agenda. Okay, with some expectation in return. If I don't get what I expect from you, I'm going to be disappointed. Why? Because my intention in the first place is not for you. It's for me.
Going along the same lines, but in reverse, with your example of the surgeon in the operating room, he had good intentions to save the patient, however he failed. Would that still be counted as a good deed?
Yes, we consider it as a good deed. There are circumstances beyond his limitation, beyond his control. So if everybody is trying their best with good intention means the good intention in the Buddhist teaching is defined as the intention to reduce pain of the others. To reduce pain of the others. This is called good intention. If you're going to share a snack, because you have a snack because you think you have low glucose now. You need to add something, some sugar, to increase some sugar level, and maybe your friend might be hungry. This is sympathy, empathy. With this, if you give, this is wholesome intention.
Thank
there is discomfort during meditation, do I try to meditate that discomfort away, or do I try to take the discomfort away?
Whether that discomfort disappears or increases, okay, it happens in a process according to cause and effect. Okay. What we are trying to do in meditation is trying to see how the mind is reacting to the discomfort. The discomfort that arises during the 15 minutes sitting, we all can cope with that physically. Okay. How long if you watch a football? How long does it take a football match? 90 minutes. You know, people who have the physical capacity to withstand that kind of discomfort. But if they have to watch this discomfort closely like this, their mind will start reacting to it, like fighting with that or suppressing it because, you know, it's something that they don't like. Those reactions, they are how we top up the discomfort. I'm saying discomfort happens at two levels, physical and psychology. So by learning how to accept this discomfort, it's okay if it increases. If I cannot bear, I'm going to move mindfully. If I can bear, I'm going to look at the discomfort and see the pattern of my reaction. It's about learning. It's about learning how we react. Does it make sense? Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Microphone. Oh, you have, okay. Yes.
So you said that when we practice mindfulness meditation, we have a primary object, which is the breath, and a secondary object, which is usually a distraction or something that comes to
Exactly.
I look at it as when you do mindfulness meditation, you become a master of your thoughts. You're trying to have self-control over thoughts of the past and thoughts of the future. And the breath anchors you back to the here and now. It's the reality. Breath is also attached to the physical phenomena of the body. So it's free, it's easily accessible, and so we always use the breath. When I meditate, I often feel pain in my shoulder or in my leg, or sometimes I would worry and wonder about something. And my question would be, for a new meditator, how long will it take to master those distractions? So when I'm breathing, I will name them, worry, and I go back to the breath. How often would I have to do that until it dissipates or disappears? Or will it eventually?
I thank you for the question, very comprehensive one. But I wouldn't risk giving you the duration, because it varies from people to people. What I would say is actually in the clip that I want to show as the third one. I'm going to tell you now. First is attention, that intention, and that attitude 3, AIA. Attention, the quality of attention. When you name worry, you are paying attention to that. But what about your attitude? Is it to get rid of it? Then the attitude is not right because you are fighting with it. The attitude should be acceptance. You see? So your intention, well, if your attitude is you look at your worry as something bothering you, something that you should get rid of, something that happens only to you and not to your student. And when that happens to a student, stress is something only happen to them. All the teachers, they seem stress-free. This is personalizing. This is attitude problem. Attitude problem. With that attitude, our intention is to get rid of it. You will never be able to get rid of it. You can only transform. You can transform the stress energy into a calm energy, into an acceptance energy, into a harmonious energy, into an understanding energy. You can transform this. Attention, intention, attitude.
My question is about good deeds. As in, I was raised up thinking that the more you donate, or like there are like different type of good deed, even doing it, like one would be worth more than the other. And yeah, I was always raised up with that. And I wanted to ask, does the quantity or the quality of a good deed matter even if the intentions are noble?
I'd like to make it short to the point because we can. This is a big subject. It includes ethics. It includes intention. Also, attention. What I just said. Attention means what your attention is on. If your attention is on yourself, you obviously expect something in return. You see this as an investment. So your intention is investment. You can see attention, intention, attitude, they are all tied up. The ideal Buddhist way of giving dana is to reduce pain, especially the pain of other people, the pain of the receiver. If I'm giving you this bottle of water, you will hear some monks saying that, okay, if you offer water, you may get 10 kinds of benefits. That's true. But only if your intention is right. If you think giving one bottle of water will bring you 10 bottles of water, this is based on greed and it may not bring you. Okay, and because the intention, the attitude, everything is negative. It's self-centered. If you think, I'll be dehydrated if I don't have this water. So to reduce that pain from dehydration that I might suffer, you give me this. Your focus is other-centered, not self-centered. With that, your quality, the quality of giving is good. And then we also say, if the person, the recipient, needs, if he has plenty of water, it may not make sense. But if sometimes, because maybe he's a mayor of Yangon, and you need to get his favor, so you give this to him. You see, the intention and the attitude, they are not right. Maybe, is it 1, 2 question? Please.
This isn't related to mindfulness anymore, but can you please explain the purpose of prayers? Because I see around that people recite all these things that...
Yes, because of the 2 microphones, you just use 1. Okay. You can use that.
So I see around that people often recite a bunch of prayers without understanding what they mean or taking anything by heart. So what is the real purpose of prayers? Why did Buddha Buddha intend for us to say prayers?
I don't want to be too radical, but I might just say that during the Buddha's time, there was no prayer as such.
That's what I was.
But there was some kind of recitation as part of education, part of learning. There weren't, plenty of books available those days, so people had to memorize. By doing that, you really need to, to do that, you really need to be concentrated. And on the other hand, by doing that, you become concentrated. You develop your concentration out of that. With concentration, there's a lot you can do. Your study is quicker. Your work has more quality, that sort of thing. But when you say prayer, this is actually asking something. Asking something from the Buddha. The Buddha is saying that everyone has to depend on themselves. And they can do that. They have the capacity to do that. So, one word that we use for Buddha prayer is actually very ambiguous. If you understand Buddha to be God, that's not true. He found a way how human beings can enlighten themselves. So Buddha actually means awakened person. So in that sense, no matter how long your prayer is, your prayer will not be answered. But your prayer is going to, or not prayer, your aspiration is going to achieve when your mind calms down, and that calmness has some effect on your work.
So, from my understanding, it used to be that the reason why people recite all these things that Buddha used to say was because they didn't have a bunch of books. But now you're saying prayers is for the sake of increasing our concentration and allowing us to be more mindful, even though the prayers itself are currently meaningless to us because we don't speak Pali.
Yes. At least when you are saying that, what you say, your mind is not on anything negative. Your mind is not wandering. So if it serves you that much, that's good.
So it's the same thing as you said earlier, register, release, and return. And instead of returning to breathing, it would be returning to prayer.
Prayer, yes.
Oh, that makes more sense.
So one Sri Lankan Buddhist monk scholar in England, in whose name I went to England in '96. In one of his books, he remarked, anything a Buddhist does, anything a Buddhist does can be meditative if the attitude is right. So, if I recite Hedu Bisyo, Aramna Bisyo, if I have the intention to increase my concentration, my focus, I use this as the main object, the primary object. Then it's the same as focusing on the breath. Maybe one last question. Okay, what was that?
What should we do if we start to fall asleep when we're meditating? Because that's a problem that I kind of face when I try to meditate.
I'm going to give you a different answer. Maybe an answer different from you might get from elsewhere. I don't see this as a problem. You should congratulate yourself when you wake up. You see, You don't understand now because you're too young. But when you get older, lots of people, they have sleep problem. They can't sleep. They have to take pills. So if you meditate, and within a few minutes, it has a sleeping effect on you. Well done. But one thing is that your attitude towards this. Now I'm being serious now. When you wake up, do you blame yourself? If you blame yourself, if you feel guilty, this is something that you need to work on. Because sleep is a physical requirement, physical need. It's very innocent. Okay? But if you are fighting with this, if you are a kind of being judgmental about this, you need to kind of work on your attitude, not so much on your sleep. Okay? I pass the mic to the volunteers, to Albert and Grace.
Hello. Okay, so guys, let's use this time to write down goals for what you want to learn today. Let's take 5 minutes to do that.